So, as many of you may know, I'm a fan of YouTuber by the name of raocow. And his forum, Talkhouse, has on several occasions held a contest in order to make good Mario levels. It's the Make a Good Level contest, MAGL. Now, they did this for Super Mario World originally, with straight-up hacking Super Mario World a couple times, and since then, they've actually held two, now, contests for Super Mario Bros. X. Now, I've done a minor amount of dabbling in hacking Super Mario World before, but I was much more interested in seeing what Super Mario Bros. X was capable of. Above that, I've recently been getting at least a little bit back in the groove of doing some game dev, and so I heard that MAGL X2 was in the works, and I signed the crap up for that. MAGL X2, Make a Good Level X, the sequel. Now how this works is you are actually randomly generated 3 or 4 names, and level names, you get to pick one and make your level surrounding that. You are also then given 2 characters, and you can use either or both of those 2 characters, because you can play as multiple characters in Super Mario Bros. X. Now, Super Mario Bros. X, for those of you who don't know, is a custom-made Mario engine with physics based around Super Mario Bros. 3, but it lets you do oh so much more than the regular game. And this contest was my chance to look into making a level for this and actually learn how to make a level. This is the first level I've ever made in Super Mario Bros. X, and I actually had to learn the engine as I was making it. But without further ado, I know so little about Super Mario Bros. X and how to edit levels for it, I barely figured out how to even play the level that I was making. I managed to drop it into one of the existing things right here, and of the names that I got, the first one listed was Abundantly Calculating Bloopers. And I honestly didn't even have to look at the rest. Bloopers are hands down my favorite Mario enemy. I just think they look cool. I love them. Now, when I was first designing this level, I was trying to figure out what to do with calculating. I knew I wanted bloopers, and the 2 characters I was given was actually Mario and Peach. I knew I wanted to make a level with both of them and a level with bloopers, but I wasn't sure how to do calculating, and originally I was thinking the meaning of calculating as planning, so these bloopers were scheming, and I even had the idea of something like, maybe all the bloopers were like really mean to Mario, but then whenever you change characters over to Peach, they'd all become like super nice and helpful until you change back to Mario or something. I don't know. I had a lot of trouble coming up with an idea for that I felt like I could actually do given how little I know about Super Mario Bros. X. SMBX. So instead I went with calculating, meaning math. Now, you can actually enter my level as anybody, but I force you to change to Mario right at the start. And we're dropped into the first room. You can see a pipe off to the left with yellow blocks there. Yellow block up top, meaning that, yes, it is indeed not working, or it's blocked. There's all kinds of blocks. Red, blue, green, yellow, fun stuff. These bloopers are actually friendly. See the exclamation point so I can talk to them. I had trouble with these 2 bloopers actually piling on top of each other, so I made the left one not move and the right one does move, just so you can get them separated. We'll get in the water, duder. Same issue here. Now, a lot of what inspired this level was actually a combination of, one, coming up with a neat idea of how to handle a Mario changing to Peach mechanic. I also like things that feel non-linear, like you have A point, B point, go from A to B along a straight line. So I like a degree of backtracking, but backtracking is rough in a Mario game, so I wanted to use the swapping of characters to actually emphasize that and do something with that. I also really like the idea of making kind of a Metroidvania in Mario, and though that somewhat inspired my design, in the end it really didn't contribute much to anything. This line of dialogue right here is actually a quote from The Simpsons. This is not the Pythagorean theorem, which is not an isosceles triangle, but a right triangle. Of all of these bloopers, they're all moving straight up and down, except for this one, who just says, "Hi, friend." I was trying to come up with stupid stuff for the other ones to say, but I couldn't think of any, like, dumb math quotes like that first one, so I ended up just giving them complete gibberish, mostly. That guy's actually sort of trying. This is kind of important because he tells you straight up that the bloopers they kicked out don't have as sharp heads, or don't have very sharp heads. And that then is where these bloopers out here are different from the ones in there, and why you can actually jump on these guys' heads. I did go to the trouble of changing. These guys don't normally have a graphic for jumping on somebody's head. They actually turn into, or I took the Goomba sprite, I think, and I gave them a graphic to do that. This first room actually underwent a lot of revisions. I originally had a lot more jumping fish coming out of the water. It was harder to get a hold of the right guys. There were sniffets, like all of these guys were sniffets. Just not good platforms in a lot of places. A lot of crap, forgot about you. A lot of revisions. That guy's gonna try to jump out of the water. I'm gonna kill him to be safe. Similarly, in here, I had a lot of problems because you're effectively fighting bloopers in their natural environment. And in their natural environment, bloopers are ridiculously hard to outmaneuver. I ended up taking them out by just always dragging in the sniffet that you saw on the outside in here. But I figured that's not something I should rely on the player doing. So instead I just put in a Shy Guy generator up top. I also got tired of going back and forth 100 times, and I was usually small by the time I got here. But I wanted to kill this guy. I was expecting a lot of things with the judge's concern for this level. But honestly, I think one concern was just the repetitive music, because I only use one music track in this entire level. And I was honestly expecting a lot more. I was expecting that to be one thing. I think it also kind of plays like a newcomer to SMBX, who's just like experimenting with the engine and throwing in everything. Crap. Okay, where was I? So like, say a newcomer to SMBX, so to say, who's doing a lot of like just throwing in everything the engine can do. I intentionally made the platform here low enough that you could stand on the bottom here, and the blooper would actually go under that red thing, so you could draw him over here in order to kill him and make progressing easier. But of all the various complaints that I was expecting, I was not expecting the chief complaint to be that the level was too hard and or too long. Come on, you weenie. Similarly here, that guy, go down low enough, that guy can, there we go. I was a little bit irritated because you can only jump on the bloopers' heads when they're outside the water. Underwater, like, you can't come down on top of them. That bothered me a little bit. But this first arm, this first leg of the level here, is predominantly focused on water and just kind of giving a calmer introduction. Oh, right here, if you get all those coins, you get a 1-up. And then that takes us up into the second leg. Now here, because it doesn't make much sense to just spontaneously be above ground when you were underground before, I wanted to put a whole bunch of panels up along the background, so this looked like a big display. For whatever reason, I just had a lot of trouble with that, though. On top of that, the big thing that I was experimenting with here, as far as SMBX goes, was moving things. So just moving platforms. Also, you'll notice I have a brown Goomba at the end of every single one of these. And our goal, as you saw before, was to hit the 4 switches. And I even put the toggle down there so you can see, yes, this block is open. Like, you've turned the thing off. X equals 6 plus 2z. Y equals x minus 2z minus 3. Y equals... Now, of course, when I decided to go with math, I figured I'm going to have to actually do some math. And I wanted to come up with a I came up with my own problem for this one. It's a pretty simple problem. But I wanted it to look like it was sort of complicated without actually making it that complicated. Because you see, you have a positive 2z and a negative 2z, so they just cancel out completely. If you, like, substitute x into y, you would have 6 plus 2z minus 3. So the z's just cancel out, and you end up with y equals 6 minus 3, so y is 3. Now, getting back here is a little bit different, because I got rid of the moving platforms, for one, which is one of the chief things I did here with various things moving about. Crap, I missed! I was trying to land on the Koopa! My plan didn't work! Yeah, okay. But there's a glitch where if you actually jump on an enemy's head while you're overlapping those invisible blocks, you'll actually zip straight down until you're not in anything anymore. And in this level, that means you die, just instantly. So the reason I actually have the spiked pillars there in the first place is just to prevent you from existing over them. But I didn't want them to be a safe zone, because the enemies also can't move through those transparent blocks. Okay, now, that uncorked the area over here where we're doing more moving platform things. I actually made the 2 moving platforms horizontal a different shade than the vertical ones. Just so it's more easy to tell where they're going. You can get crushed by those, and they're intended to be kind of the main threat. But honestly, the way I have the platforms moving, as long as you don't dawdle in this one, they're really not much of a threat at all. Like, this is another thing that I spent a lot of time balancing and balancing and balancing to make sure it was still dangerous, but you could get through here relatively easy, and it didn't feel cheap when you died. I was gonna say something else. What was I gonna say? Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Apparently, SMBX actually has codes in it, like infinite. Like, it gives you power-ups, it kills you instantly, there's a God mode code, a fly code, a no-clip code. All of these codes, I had completely forgotten any of them existed when I made this level, and which means I played this entire level every single time I wanted to test it. And that takes us up here to the midpoint. Wah. Get down there. And for when you start back, I want to make sure you start back as Mario, and then you can hit these 2 switches, which are the 2 switches we just hit, in order to uncork the next area and get you back up to par. But yeah, I played through this level effectively every single time. I'd maybe put a pipe in to get me up to a place, but yeah. Which is kind of another reason that I'm surprised that one of the chiefer complaints with this was its difficulty. Because I played through this without God mode or anything on it every time I had to test it, and I figured I've never dabbled with SMBX before, so I'm not going to be nearly as good as the people who play this regularly. So if it's sort of challenging for me, it should probably be reasonably easy for everyone else. And I was actually surprised then. Okay, so we're going into Greentown, Green Place. Now this is where I originally wanted to do this. I tried to keep, for one, all of the palettes, or not palettes, tile sets consistent. I tried to use, if at all possible, something from either Super Mario Bros. 3 or Metroid. And even Metroid, I had very specific uses for things in very specific areas to make sure everything remained consistent always. But otherwise, I tried to do everything with completely vanilla graphics, no external coding, nothing fancy. But it got to this point, and I started sort of needing to. And I introduced the jelly bloopers, who are more jellyfish than blooper. You can jump on their heads and pick them up. And because of that, you can toss them up, do the thing. I think in order to make these guys, I re-sprited I sprited the guy myself. Any custom graphics in this level were done entirely by me. But I think with these guys, I think it's just a red shy guy that I may not be able to move horizontally. And then you can see down here, this thing is jettisoning out the jelly bloopers hitting that switch, which actually toggles this top thing on and off, which gives you the chance to get through. But then you have to come down here and hit this one, which not only stops that one and uncorks this, so you can come back here and get one of these guys if you need him, but that lets you go over here, and you should be able to stand just on this right platform and kick him and get up here. Now, as you approach this, you see, just off screen, another one is getting kicked out and hitting the switch. So we're toggling these. Oh, I was getting risky there. There's a Goomba at the end of this. I also try to give you a power-up at the end of every single one of these. For one, you never know what state your new character is going to be in, and it's just kind of nice to give power-ups. I also put these Mario blocks here, just because while you're standing on the left platform, this platform doesn't toggle, and it made it really hard getting back out here. And then, since this is blocked, you have to use Peach's hover, because she controls a lot like she did in Mario 2 in order to get down here. I put this switch here, but I honestly am not sure why. Like, you can get through either way, but I suppose if you recalled that when that one's blocked, you could block it so you could just jump up here. But the generator up top there isn't actually generating while it's off screen, and you can hop over and it's perfectly safe either way. Now we gotta get back. And that actually uncorked this thing down here. You'll notice purple pipes. Everywhere there's a purple pipe goes to a different screen. So we've got that purple pipe, and we've got a purple pipe back here, where we first zoned in. And I put that switch here because your goal is to get all the switches off. So this ensures that the switch is off, despite that it toggles a lot of blocks. And then the block in the right here is there, so you know, yeah, that one's off like it's supposed to be. And that takes us to our final of the 4 legs, with the Poto Bloopers. Now, the Poto Bloopers, I'm so proud of that name. But yeah, I re-sprited a lot of guys in here. So we've got Podoboos that are re-sprited as bloopers. Or even all lava-y. And you'll notice the 2 red blocks underneath that thwomp are always danger blocks, like standing there and you will get crushed by a thwomp or whatever. And making you do the hard stuff is Toadstool. And the guy off to the left there is actually a Rinka shooter, I resprited the, well, him, to the Rinka shooter itself to be a blooper, and then the Rinkas I resprited into Wart's Bubbles. Which Wart's Bubbles, oddly enough, are, or not Wart's Bubbles, the Rinkas, oddly enough, are slightly oblong. They're not perfect circles. I did not know that. Dang it. That's okay, I had an extra hit. And this final area is what took easily the most testing. Can I pause in any way? I probably can, but not on this controller. The fish down there, by the way, or not the fish, the Poto Bloopers down there, by the way, I didn't want to just put lava in, but they're just fish resprited and made so they cannot go left and right. Okay, I need a little bit of momentum here. This is actually kind of rough with big. That is really rough to get through as Big Peach. I'm usually small. And to be honest, half the reason I put that Podobo right there is, or not, yeah, Poto Blooper there, is I wanted to make sure that you were actually, A, you kept moving, you didn't just wait forever and a half, but also so you could take a hit so it was easier to get through there. I got so frickin' good at, like, speedrunning this entire thing, I ran through it so many dumb times. Okay, so we can see that's blocked off there on the side. Crap. I made it somehow, that was terrifying. Please don't die now, this is gonna be horrible. Darn it, Thwomp! I think I made that Thwomp high enough that you could just run under him. But now that's uncorked the passage on the left and uncorked the switch, so we actually get a toggling thing of bloopers, so we actually have to... Whoa, I made it! So a toggling thing of bloopers, so you once again have to time your jump. Now another thing I was super inspired by, you'll notice there's no Goomba at the end of this one. Goomba's in here. He's a big Goomba. Another thing that I thought was super cool was I remember a level in the first Magalex that had a lot of like subtle changes where you didn't even realize something had changed. And I did that here. I actually put the block, like, it's a screen change block, like right here. So as soon as you jump up and hit this, it triggers it to appear, which changes you to a different location that's identical to the previous. So we're actually in a different room now than we were in before. And I wanted this to, like, sort of freak you out a little bit, but I also realized it didn't actually fit the level in the end. And you run some and go, oh, things are different. And you go over here, and that right there is actually another completely custom sprited guy. I actually replaced, he's Wart, obviously, just resprited. But I actually changed all of the graphics for Wart, even though you're not going to see a lot of them. But you can take him out just like that. And there's lava just off screen down there. Because I didn't want him, like, falling into a pit or whatever. I wanted him to, like, die outright, and you knew he died. And I seem to recall putting a block over here that you could hit that would turn yellow off again. And I don't remember why I removed that, but you can make this jump one way or the other. And with that, we should have uncorked everything. Hey, come back here. So we can jump down here, and you'll notice, hey, there's a thing up there. There's peach blocks on the right. Oh no, he made it, and it's just a crummy star. Okay, so the other thing then is the secret exit. So back in. Small notes along the way. The reason this actually goes out a little bit here and the Goomba can go under this is because I found it's actually very difficult to jump on the Goomba or over the Goomba while you're standing in that little water. So this way he has somewhere to retreat to while you hop up onto this platform. With these coins right here, I actually originally wanted to be able to get the coins, and the 1-up would simply hop out right there next to you, much like it did in Super Mario World when you'd see a mushroom hop out of the bushes. I couldn't figure out a good way to do that, though. I even tried, like, tying one to a hammer and spawning a hammer or something. I just had to come out of a pipe. So after you get the midpoint, I actually let you hop down back here, because this is sort of a leftover from the more Metroidvania design, and sort of some idea of putting in... I don't know, it was an ill-conceived attempt at putting in some kind of secondary, like, midpoint shortcut thing, where, like, hey, once you get the midpoint, you can keep coming back to this, or whatever, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. You hit the midpoint. You can go down here, though, and it does let you go back up. So it serves its purpose, just not the purpose I had originally thought of. But once you've hit the first 2 switches on the far right, if you hop down here, you'll see peach blocks on the right. And a door that just takes you back up here. So you have to go get Peach, and you can do that by either going into this pipe and coming back, because you can just go through that entire one and come back, or you can go through this one. Of note, with this one, I had actually designed, whereas previously I mentioned that I had kind of built the secondary room around moving things, this is the room that I had built around generators. So just spawning a bunch of dudes. But I hate spawning a bunch of dudes in that kind of artificial difficulty kind of way. So instead I had it like, oh, we'll shoot one out and hit a switch, we'll shoot him into lava, we'll shoot him out at an angle. Playing through the first half of the level again is indeed a challenge, but I do then let you hit the midpoint after that. So you can figure it out figure out what to do from there. And the one area that I make you run through after the midpoint is really the least threatening, because there's hardly any enemies or chance to get crushed. It's more of a puzzle room than the other rooms. Oh, and I didn't mention when I was in there the first time, but the final leg, the 4th leg, was actually designed around being a, kind of a final exam kind of thing. So I had the generators, I had the moving platforms. And now we can go in this one. If anybody remembers the math I did before, they'll know what y equals, and you can check which one of these to go in. Be it 1, 2, 3, or 4. I was, again, trying to at least throw you a bone. I could have come up with some... I could have tried to make some common mistakes in that one, and put in the common mistake. But... and so people would be more inclined to choose that one if they didn't do the math right or something. But I didn't want the math itself to rack your brain or anything. Now we know 3 is correct, and if you take 3, it'll hop you out right on the right side. In raocow's video, you can see what happens. If you get it wrong and go in any of these 3 pipes, it will dump you into one of 3 various places down there. The middle one will dump you into lava, the far right one will dump you into a bottomless pit, and the left one will get you unceremoniously crushed. So that's my level. That's Abundantly Calculating Bloopers. I spent a lot of time talking about this. I'm going to be surprised if anybody watches the whole thing. Those are my thoughts on it. I think it was super fun, super exciting to play through this, and I'm especially now looking forward to seeing all the people who outranked me. Heaven knows I ranked a lot higher than I thought I would.